and welcome to this reasonable facsimile of a podcast I said I wasn't going to do anymore. Yeah, just to give a quick explanation, I have World Class Bios almost finished. I was hoping to have it done and I would post it either yesterday or today, but I couldn't quite get it done in time. It is a long one, and it's one of the bigger names that was around for years, so it's a long video. Right after I posted that last podcast, I realized New Year's was coming up, and it's been something of a tradition for the last video of the year to be a Writing with James. So I was hoping to get the World Class Bios ready where I could post on the 29th or the 30th and then go ahead and do this on New Year's Eve. It just didn't work out that way. Work schedule and such just wasn't giving me the time. But I'll touch more on the podcast in a bit. Let me go ahead and get into the topic, which is not really a hot topic at this point, but there are still grumblings going around. The John Cena retirement match. Oh, and I don't know what I'm going to use as the visual. It will be a surprise for both of us. Boy, it got a reaction. That was the annoying thing I heard from a lot of wrestlers there for a while. The fans always reacted. Even if the fans were reacting in the complete opposite way they were supposed to, or the way the company wanted them to, they were reacting. And the wrestlers, or superstars, whatever, were putting a positive spin on it, no matter what. Okay, on the off chance some of you have been in an isolation chamber for the last several weeks, let me run through what we're talking about here. John Cena came back last year and announced his farewell tour, and he would officially be retiring at the end of 2025. Now, they counted everything down. Every time he did something, they pushed it as the last time. His last time in Montreal, his last time at Madison Square Garden, his last time in Australia. And we'll just ignore that pointless popcorn part of a heel turn. There was a tournament held to see who would be Cena's opponent for his final match. And as soon as I saw Gunther won that tournament, I knew John Cena was going to lose. They are pushing Gunther as the unstoppable monster heel, and they are not going to job him out right now on a big stage. And that's what happened on Saturday night's main event. Gunther had John Cena in the sleeper, and Cena tapped out. And it shocked a lot of people, including some of the other wrestlers. CM Punk and Bayley were watching, and both of them had what looked like a genuine shocked reaction. The live crowd booed that finish in the next week. When Triple H came out to honor Cena, I haven't heard boos like that since Roman Reigns' pre-leukemia announcement. People did not like it, and I find myself not knowing what side to take on it. I've never come out and said it publicly, but one of the most annoying things about modern day pro wrestling is the modern day pro wrestling fans. Not all of them, just the most vocal among them, which is the case with most things. It's the most vocal that are always more annoying. I guess I should alter that a little. It's the modern day WWE fans. I don't watch enough AEW or TNA to get much of a feel for their fans. What little I watch from big companies is WWE. First of all, from what I understand, the finish was John Cena's call. Cena is well known for being a good soldier and simply doing what is asked of him. But I have to believe that for his retirement match, he had some options. So, frankly, if that's what John Cena wanted to do, people should have some respect for that. People still boo Triple H, but these are the same people that booed Roman Reigns unmercifully and justified it by saying, we're tired of him being shoved in our face all the time. And then when Vince McMahon came out, the man everybody knew was the one shoving Roman Reigns in their face, they cheered and squealed like little girls. But one of the things I continually see from this generation of fans is when they see something they like, they call it cinema. Cinema. Sometimes, saying nothing more than that word. Cinema. I saw a lot of that when Cena initially turned heel. This is cinema. Well, there is nothing more cinematic than to take the man who always said never give up, and in his final moments, he gives up. Cinema. That's not the ending you wanted, but it's still a good ending for a story. Now, all that said, I was hoping John Cena would win. And he probably should have. Not only did it just feel right for him to win, but this was the most publicized retirement match maybe in the history of pro wrestling. I don't think there's much doubt that it was the most publicized retirement match in the history of pro wrestling. It was a running story throughout the year, tied to a major television network on Saturday night's main event, and they were charging outrageous amounts of money for that card. Nosebleed seats were anywhere from $250 to $500. On the floor was $1,000 or more. The closer to high-profile areas, the higher the cost. Front row ringside, on the TV side, was over $10,000. And people were in them. All of that was on top of the mountain of merch made available to buy, and then he loses. Plus, there was one of the Make-A-Wish kids. John Cena, if you love him or hate him, you have to admit there has never been a pro wrestler, or anybody else for that matter, that has done more for things like Make-A-Wish. It might be the reason I like John Cena as much as I do. He treats his fans so well and does all that stuff for kids, and it's really an honorable thing. But they had one of those kids there, and he loses. So, while I don't really like the backlash from fans, I also find myself agreeing with them, in essence. But all of this got me to thinking about something. Triple H came out, and the old standard line about a long-standing tradition. It's a long-standing tradition to lose a retirement match, to give the rub to someone on your way out. And I started thinking, is it though? Is that the tradition? I mean, Kurt Angle did it. Angle lost to Baron Corbin in his final match. That was 6 years ago. That's not really a long-standing tradition. It also didn't do Corbin much good. But so I decided, let me look into it and see just how much of a long-standing tradition it is. To see how many people retired and lost on their way out. Now, of course, for this channel, probably the most notable retirement match, Fritz von Erich. Fritz von Erich's retirement match was June 1982. He won. He defeated King Kong Bundy at Texas Stadium for the American Heavyweight Championship. I can't even imagine Fritz going in there and saying, well, it's a long-standing tradition that you lose a retirement match. Nobody was going to pay to go to Texas Stadium and see Fritz lose. You had to, that had to be he had to win. He had to win. And he did. Now, of course, if you want to talk about, of course, as retirements go in pro wrestling, quite often a guy retires and then he goes on and wrestles some more. And Fritz did have 3 more matches. He tagged with his sons Kevin and Mike Von Erich against the Fabulous Freebirds to win the World Class 6-Man Tag Team Championship at the David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions in 1984. That was the same card. Kerry Von Erich won the NWA World Championship from Ric Flair. But a lot of people forget he had two more matches after that. 2 years later, he had a couple of matches against Abdullah the Butcher. Fritz defeated Abdullah in Houston. Then in a submission match, he won by disqualification against Abdullah. And I think that one was in Fort Worth. So he won his retirement match. He came back and won 3 more matches. Fritz didn't lose in his retirement match. His last loss was on May 2nd, 1982 at the Sportatorium to King Kong Bundy. That was about a month before the retirement show. So he didn't do it. Terry Funk. Of course, Terry Funk, he had a dozen retirement matches, but his last actual match was in 2017 for Big Time Wrestling based in South Carolina. Funk tagged with Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express, in a 6-man match, and they defeated Brian Christopher, Doug Gilbert, and Jerry Lawler in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Now, Terry's first announced and promoted retirement match, get this, actually billed as his retirement match, was on August 31st, 1983. That was in Tokyo, Japan. Terry and Dory Funk Jr. defeated Stan Hansen and Terry Gordy. So he didn't lose that match. His second retirement match that I know of was, as far as announced as a retirement match, was in 1997. He lost to Bret Hart. That was the Forever match. You've probably seen the clip of Terry Funk saying, "Forever, forever, forever." It was that match. That was Funk's call to lose. He said he didn't think a young guy like Hart losing to an old man like him was believable. So he did lose one of his retirement matches. Dusty Rhodes. I didn't realize how much his career just kind of fizzled out until I looked it up. I don't think he ever had like really an announced retirement match. His last match was actually tagging with Cody Rhodes and Goldust, of course, Dustin Rhodes, in a 6-man match. They defeated Kurt Hawkins, Kalen Croft, and Trent Beretta in Florida Championship Wrestling. That was in Kissimmee, Florida, on July 9th, 2010. His last singles match was on July 22nd, 2007, at WWE's version of the Great American Bash in San Jose, California. He lost to Randy Orton in a Texas bull rope match, which that was a little bit of a slap in the face. Have Dusty, and it was only like a 5-minute match. Have Dusty lose to Randy Orton in a Texas bull rope match at the Great American Bash, which I think was one of Dusty's children, if you will. So he did lose that singles match, but then, his last match, he was a winner. Now, Ric Flair famously had the retirement match against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania in 2008. Flair's career on the line. He would have to retire if he lost, which he did. Okay, so that was more than just a long-standing tradition. That was a storyline leading up to Flair's retirement, and it was great. They gave Flair the emotional send-off. Unfortunately, Flair's bank account wanted Flair to wrestle some more, and so he came back in TNA for a couple of years. And then, of course, his actual last match was famously 3 years ago, after more than a decade out of the ring, if you want to call that a match. Flair and Andrade beat Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett in a tag match that went on way too long. So even though he lost his quote-unquote retirement match to Shawn Michaels, his last match, he actually won. Kamala. Even Kamala won his final match. Kamala's last match was in 2010 for Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Kamala and the Weed Man beat Paulie and Beto Tomaselli in a tag match. As far as I know, that wasn't billed as a retirement match, but really, how many high-profile matches have there been? Retirement matches. Terry Funk by himself probably has more billed retirement matches than anybody else put together. Steve Williams, Dr. Death Steve Williams, this is one that was billed as a retirement match, and Williams was in such bad shape at that point, it was obvious this was genuinely his retirement. It was his retirement show for Asylum Championship Wrestling in Colorado. Williams defeated Franco D'Angelo for the ACW Championship. So there is another retirement match, won by the guy retiring. And just to run through a few more quickly, Bob Backlund did lose his final match. He lost as part of a 6-man tag team in Japan. But his last match in the U.S. was for Juggalo Championship Wrestling in Maine, and he won, beating Ken Patera. Bruno Sammartino tagged with Hulk Hogan in his final match when they beat King Kong Bundy and One Man Gang at a house show in Baltimore in August 1987. His last singles match was the night before at the Paul Bosch retirement show in Houston, and he won that too, beating Hercules. You'd have to go all the way back to January 1987 to find Bruno's last loss, which was by countout to Randy Savage in Boston. Mr. Wrestling 2 defeated Pat Rose in Baker, Louisiana for 5-Star Wrestling. That was his last singles match. He quietly retired after that. But he did come back 17 years later in 2007 and tagged with Mr. Wrestling 3, which was Steve Corino, for Hawaii Championship Wrestling. They won the match against Manu Samoa, that's the name of a tag team, for the HCW Heritage Tag Team Championship. So the point being, I don't see where the long-standing tradition of losing your retirement match is coming from. There was something of a tradition to lose to someone if you were leaving a territory. And it wasn't so much of a tradition as it was just the right thing to do. Let's say someone was leaving Dallas and going to Florida. Well, the loss wasn't going to hurt you because you were leaving. People in Florida didn't know anything about what was going on in Dallas, and you could give a boost to somebody that was staying in the territory. But as far as retirement, there really isn't a tradition of losing a retirement match, especially when a lot of times retired wrestlers don't stay retired. Okay, well those are my thoughts on that. Thank you for letting me get them out. I'm sorry that this was not what I wanted to do at the end of the month and the end of the year, but I will have that world-class bios ready soon. I may go ahead and come out with one of these podcasts every now and then, because I've kind of done some time management, and I might have a little more time. These are actually pretty quick to put together, really. So, I don't know about once a month, but maybe if I have a particular topic I want to get into, I'll pop up with one. So, and like I say, these are pretty quick to put together. What I used to do at the end of a Riding with James was kind of a year in review thing for the New Year's Eve one. But with the kind of videos I do now, that's kind of hard. So I thought, let's just have some fun. A little silliness. Grok has this thing now where you can take a picture and turn it into a video. It's only a 6-second video, but it's kind of fun to play around with. So, to close things out, here's a few pictures I turned into videos, some classic wrestling and some modern day stuff. It has the option of giving a prompt if you want something specific to happen, but you can also just let Grok come up with something on its own. And that's what all of these are, just letting Grok come up with something. Well, except the last one. The last one, there was a prompt. So, I hope you enjoy this bit of silliness. Everybody have a happy new year. If you're going out tonight and planning on drinking, please make sure you have a designated driver. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will see you in 2026.
to China from